How's it
What's
going?
doing? It's going good. How's it going with you?
Good. If you guys saw the behind the scenes, you would have gotten a chance to see Joshua repeating the ABCs over and over and over again. And
Trying to make sure that my audio sync is synced up properly.
not to mention trading tongue twisters.
Yes.
That's right. So,
What's your favorite tongue twister if you're just joining us?
I mean, I don't even know that many of them. I mean, it's the Peter Piper, and then there's the. If I thought about it for a while, I don't know. Tongue twisters are like jokes. I just don't remember them.
Yeah. Oh man, I think we're tired, man.
I can make funny ones sometimes, but I don't generally remember jokes. My brain just doesn't latch onto them.
Got it.
So I'll tell you one thing my brain does remember is aha moments.
I hear you.
So let's talk a little bit about some breakthroughs, some marketing breakthroughs, aha moments, shifts in awareness that have occurred. Maybe this is directly related to a mentor, or maybe it's, for me, a lot of them are related to mentors. But maybe it's related to a situation, a circumstance, a project, a campaign, a realization. But I would love to just brainstorm a little bit with you and for anybody who is live with us, what are some of the biggest aha moments or shifts in your awareness that you got where the world just opened up in front of you, specifically as it relates to marketing, right? That you've had, and who's involved? Who's involved? We're going to talk about some of ours here in the next few minutes. Joshua, does one pop into mind for you, or shall I kick it off?
You can kick it off, but one did pop into mind for me. We've talked about it previous times, but so either way, I mean, and I'm sure more will start to germinate to the surface.
What do you got?
I was just thinking about Dean Jackson and the revelation of that. And I was listening to so that I got the numbers right. In the study that he found out was that 50% of people that made inquiries purchased within a year and a half to 2 years after the fact. So a full 50%. However, only 15% of that had purchased in the first 90 days. So that is just really revolutionary to me in terms of when you think about how simple it is to win, right? Like if you just have a cycle that goes past the 90-day window and can create relationship and also stay in touch, just constant communication, and then that when the timing's right for that person, you are more likely than anybody else to get the business because it's 90 days plus, and there's no competition because. In the internet world, I think you're lucky if you have a 30-day mentality of a life cycle. I mean, I think that's really long in the internet world, and to have a 91-day plus, imagine there's no competition at that point.
Let me ask you a question about that, because I haven't read that case study or listened to that podcast or wherever you got that info. And Dean is brilliant. I do trust his research and his brain. However, is this just within real estate, or is this a wider study?
No, this is a wider study. I mean, he actually talked about it from trade shows and then in general, actually. I mean, just the actual, I think the example that he was reading about was actually some sort of plumbing supply or like a fixture of some sort. And so it was really it was a big enough purchase that it had to be thought of, or that they were going to do some homework on it.
Right.
But it wasn't a big enough purchase that, like a house necessarily, although I'm sure that houses, carry an even longer life cycle in some cases.
I would think so. Well, I mean, so here's a good question about this idea, is that I can see how this principle would be not only important, but really important to any businesses that don't already have a significant direct response marketing component in particular. Okay. If you're not doing any kind of direct response, Okay. Basically, if you're not doing any outbound to your list, right?
Yeah, but I mean, he talks a lot about it in the framework of, even people that are doing the internet marketing stuff, and he calls it, running the gauntlet, as I guess it's referred to by a lot of folks out there. I've never heard that term before, but he was talking about, like, if they don't take advantage of something in the first 30 days, that in the internet marketing space, any kind of email marketing space, that it gets relegated to the joint venture list, and that they just pound the snot out of it for joint ventures, that they really don't care about that prospect. And I mean, talk about throwing money out the window, and relationships out the window, really.
Well, it's interesting though, because that's accelerating online because of list pruning, and like list pruning and list hygiene is in theory a really good thing. Okay, yeah. Like everyone thinks, oh, I really should do a better job of keeping my list clean, and some people do an impeccable job. And anyone who hasn't opened or clicked on an email in the last 30 days, they get removed from the list entirely, and so on, in order to keep deliverability up, engagement up, responsiveness up, and all these things. So I wonder how to balance, or the thoughts around balancing this idea of responsiveness and the non-responsives, and getting rid of them so that you have a squeaky clean responsive list that'll buy your stuff, versus abandoning people that if you just spent longer with them, right?
Yeah. Well, what I personally would do, and have done, is a hybrid deal between the online, the email marketing space, and how you tend to target people with pixels and that type of thing. And to borrow from Kurt Malley, he has his top 28, or his hot 28 list. It used to be the hot 7, now it's the hot 28, and then he extends it to 90 days. But what I would do personally is I would have a gradation, and if they're responsive in the first 30 to 60 days, or however much in the internet space, then that would be the list that I would continue to market to. But then I wouldn't remove the ones that haven't responded. I would move them into the 90 to 180 day window, and see what I could get downstream from them to re-engage them later on. But I wouldn't delete them. I would just put that in an alternate campaign that starts later.
Well, that's the whole thing, is that now that we're not just limited to email, we have so many other options, right? And then we've always had phone for voice broadcasts, and we then had text messages, though, at least in my experience, they were highly underutilized, and still are, by most marketers. But now that you can pixel everybody and retarget everyone in so many different, really revolutionary ways, it's so interesting that you can bring people back. But dude, I just had the coolest idea. So anybody who's been studying email marketing for a while is probably familiar with ARM, Autoresponder Madness, Andre Chaperone, and his brilliant body of work. Soap opera sequences. As far as I know, he coined the term. And this idea of building out a long email sequence that tells a story over
and that builds tension. I mean, like purposely leaves open loops and builds that anticipation-based tension.
Mm-hmm. And between emails, right? And then Andre has also played around with telling stories about fictional people, like where he puts different people's names and gives different examples of, person A and person B, in some of his feeder sites that he's created in the past. I don't remember the one off the top of my head, but the point is that long series of emails, right, that does create more engagement over time because of all the open loops and the hooks for the people that become fans. And this is cool. And if you have the patience and you're a good enough writer and you know your market well enough, it's incredibly powerful stuff. But you have to be a pretty good marketer to really use Andre's stuff at a high level, in my experience. And I'm a little bit too impatient for it most of the time, honestly. Like I want to write a brilliant email and send it off. I don't really want to write a 36-part email sequence that's going to go out over 2 months. Like I tend to be more impatient than that. But what I realized was the idea of multiple seasons. And so I was watching Teen Titans Go with my kids, and they're on, I think, season 7 now. And right. I still love the episodes, and they're hilarious. They're about 20 minutes, 22 minutes, just how it happens to be roughly the length of like a VSL. And I was thinking about writing emails, SOS sequences, Andre Chaperone style, to keep people engaged and waiting for the next email, and the plot is unfolding in their head when they're not in front of their computer. They're thinking about the story, they're thinking about the characters, they're learning from the story. It's all storytelling based. And so, and what I realized is I don't know that I've seen anyone do multiple seasons of soap opera sequences. Now, I've seen people go from one sequence to another, or move them intelligently, but actual seasons, right? Like 13 episode seasons. And then in my mind, I was like, oh, those emails could have videos attached, and those videos could sell products.
Andre just did something very similar to what you're talking about. He's reworking it now, but he called it Marketing Upgraded, and it was episode 1, season 1, and it was going to have so many episodes in it. And then at a certain point, he decided to rework it, and I believe it's when he teamed up with Sean, but he's now reworking it. But the same principle, I think you guys are right in sync, and it makes a lot of sense.
Right. I mean, if you really want people for the long term, you got to plant the seeds now, or they're just not going to keep growing.
And he's also been continually, every Friday, he sends out a really meaty newsletter. And he's back doing that regularly now. So
yeah, I did notice that. That was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with his partnership with Sean.
Yeah. So you want to talk about another aha moment?
Yeah, you go.
So this is one that has
EJ, and by the way, I just want to acknowledge Jacqueline and EJ. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
And if you've seen EJ's comment, but he said that in 2007 you made me go aha, and I'm sure he's referring to you, because I don't believe we know each other except from these live streams.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear it. That's great. Very, very cool. I've had a lot of folks re-engaging with me after a 10-year hiatus, who are just like re-finding me now as a result of these live streams that we're doing, who used to follow me in the marketing days. And then when I pruned my list to get rid of all of the people who were got rid of 80% of my list, so that I wasn't, paying this exorbitant, huge fee for all these people who ultimately weren't reading my emails, because I lost a lot of people, and now people are finding me again on Facebook, which is pretty cool. But one of the biggest aha moments I've had, I have to give Mark Joyner credit for it. The idea, concept, and principle of integration marketing. It transformed my life and my business different businesses multiple times. I had been reading the Confidential Internet Intelligence Manuscript. I was a hypnotherapist, had my own office, didn't have enough clients to pay the bills, wanted to sell hypnosis CDs online. My salsa company was flailing. It was like about to die. I was also trying to figure out how to sell jars of salsa online profitably. And for the love of God, I could not figure out all this internet marketing crap and pull off selling hypnosis CDs and salsa on the internet.
Right.
So I was reading the Confidential Internet Intelligence Manuscript. I think it could have been Mind Control Marketing too. It was one of his earlier books, and
or the missing chapter of Mind Control Marketing.
That came later. But he taught about this principle of integration marketing.
Yep.
And the principle that and the way that he taught it was he talked about Microsoft and Windows and IBM, and how when IBM created the personal computer, really, and computers were being manufactured and they're being delivered to, office supply stores for people to buy and all these things, they didn't have an operating system. They were the hardware, and no one, like the hardware companies, didn't know how to or have the ability to create and release the software. They didn't really know how the software companies worked, and software companies were just figuring out how the heck software companies worked too. Like nobody knew what they were doing.
Right.
But one thing that was realized was that the computers did need an operating system. And so as the story goes, Bill Gates didn't have the operating system. He knew someone who either had it or thought they could finish it or something like this. And he ended up doing a deal to get this operating system installed on all the IBM computers that got shipped. And he offered it for free. And then he just charged on the upgrades, and the future versions. And so the only operating system in town was Windows, or whatever Windows was before it was even called Windows. And Bill Gates was the middleman, right?
Yeah.
And so lo and behold, the operating system, when all the other companies started popping that were IBM clones, what software did they want to use? Well, they wanted to use the software that was working the best, was the most cutting edge, had the most money behind it.
Cross-platformed.
Yeah. And so this is a situation where the software was shipped for free as a bolt-on, as an add-on, and essentially all of the customers of all of those computer companies became Microsoft customers. Okay, absolutely amazing. And I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands, perhaps millions of other examples, right? That you can find of this out there, but this is a very profound and large scale example that most people can wrap their head around.
Yeah, I mean, I think that so many other examples just popped into my head in listening to that example of aha moments throughout the years. I mean, I've got to go back through the archives, but one of the thoughts that, connected to the integration marketing concept, and two different concepts that I learned from Dan Kennedy specifically, probably in like 98, 99 at one of his boot camps. One was the concept of in the PS of your sales letter and or on the order form, having a bump to a multi-$1,000 product, not just a small bump, but like you could actually do, oh, by the way, would you also like to get, I'm doing this. And there was something about like they had already made the mental decision to buy that even with a high price product, it still worked. We tend to think of bumps as, being a $10 or $20 or maybe $50 bump. But once they make that buying decision, that's that's connected to it. The other thing that I found like a huge breakthrough in just concept, and it really relates to what you're talking about in the way of integration marketing, is what Dan Kennedy used to call the pain of disconnect. When the pain of disconnect is greater than the pain of paying the fees, whatever that is. Yeah. And so, that really is kind of a similar concept to the Microsoft, there was no other option, right?
Right.
The pain of disconnect was that they couldn't go anywhere else for a time. But,
or if there was another option, nobody knew how to find it. The internet didn't even exist, right?
And think about the early days with autoresponders. The pain of disconnect of moving your list. It's still a pain in the ass today, but the pain of disconnect, and that's where Infusion really grasped hold strong and made a strong gain in the marketplace, and why they're now fairly mainstream, and they changed the name to Keep and all of that stuff. And now I'm seeing them advertised all over the place on TV and whatnot. But they made it so that the pain of disconnect was terrible. Like the idea of just thinking about it, of shifting somewhere else was like,
whole business. Yeah, I have to rebuild the entire house from the bottom up. Yep. Yeah. Yep. No, it's true. So, Basim, I don't know what the drama is with Bill Gates. He didn't design the operating system anyway. Basim says that Bill Gates was not the first to come up with the operating system. He worked his way on the shoulders of others. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm sure that is the case. I'm definitely not the Bill Gates historian. I'm not going to have any accuracy for you around that.
It's interesting if you've ever go on YouTube and look up some of they have these annual tech conferences that have these big red chairs. That's all how I recognize them. But Bill Gates and Steve Jobs often were on those panels talking to them with the interviewer and the two of them. And and they were like, they weren't pulling punches, and Steve would slam. I mean, Steve's a much better talker and showman than Bill Gates, or he was.
Right.
Bill Gates is probably a better talker now. But the thing that was interesting, that at the end of the interview, he asked them, each of them, what's something that you admire in the other person that you wish you had learned from, or that you did learn from them? And after Steve got done slamming him and giving him a hard time, and everybody was laughing, he said that the way that Bill had struck all these licensing deals and these joint venture partnerships, that if he had done that early on and had mirrored what Bill had done, that it would have been an entirely different trajectory for Apple.
Right.
And so I thought that was interesting, and that kind of speaks to what you're talking about, because I mean that's in essence what he did with the operating system. What Bill Gates did with it is.
So let me give you some practical applications in like much smaller business, real world, right? So the first one was that I applied. I got the idea. I understood the idea, but I didn't even have a freaking website that was selling anything or a product that would convert. I was selling hypnosis, weight loss hypnosis, to local people in Vermont. And I was like, I had this idea. And it became, further down the road, what I now call the mini practice model. But what happened was I didn't have any money. I needed more clients. And I had the wherewithal, because I had been studying marketing, to realize that my primary client, my best client, was a middle-aged woman who wanted to lose weight, often married. Often married or in the process of getting divorced. And what happened was I was out for a run, and I had been reading this book. I went out for a run, and I ran right by a Curves for Women. And I ran by the Curves for Women, and it had the windows all blacked out, right? As like any of the women's exercise gyms do for privacy and stuff, right? Yeah. And I was like, all my customers are in there. And I was like, where do my customers hang out? Because that's what everybody would say. It's where your customers hang out. I'm like, where do overweight women hang out? I know it's but that's what I was thinking, because I was like a skinny, young, mid-20s dude. Like, where do overweight, middle-aged women hang out? I don't know. I have no idea. And I'm like, they're in Curves. And so what I did was,
Michael Sullivan, what's up, my brother? How's things going? Sorry to break your flow, but I just saw Michael chime in there on a cool. I see you've been a voyeur in there, and I've been thinking a lot about you guys. And anyway, I just wanted to say hello and acknowledge you. Sorry, go on, Tellman.
Yeah. So what happened was I called the owner, and I was like, "Yo, I am a local hypnotherapist. I work with a lot of weight loss clients who have a hard time with exercise and consistency around their exercise. I can't really just walk into Curves for Women without it being a really awkward thing. Right. I was wondering if you'd give me a tour of your facility and explain to me how it works so I can figure out whether or not I can send clients in your direction." And she was like, "Well, yeah, of course. We'll book an appointment after hours, you know?" And I was like, okay. And I said, "Look, I have a question for you. I know it's going to sound weird, but just hear me out. Do you have an empty room at least one day a week inside your place?" Because if she didn't have an empty room, I wasn't going to go for the visit because it would have been a waste of my time. And what I was looking for was an empty room one day a week so that I could give all of her clients free hypnosis sessions.
Right.
Which is the same thing as installing the operating system on that computer. Okay.
Right.
And so what I did was I offered all of her clients a free hypnosis session with me, which I recorded on tape and gave to them whether or not they became a paying client, I might point out. And what I did is they came in and I said, look, I'm offering this to you for free because I think it's going to help you to lose weight. I think you're probably going to have a good experience. And I think you'll probably come back because you'll want more, right? This is the first session in a 7-series program that I created.
Right.
And normally it would cost you $75, but I'm going to give it to you for free. We're running a special promotion right now, and I'm offering everybody a free session. It's that simple, right? It wasn't complicated. And there was a what do you call it? Clipboard. There's a clipboard, and I had printed out these sheets with my with open schedule slots on them, and each one was for one day, and I was only in there one day a week, and so there was like 3 months worth of sheets there that people could go and fill out and schedule in advance when they were going to do their free session. They put in their name and their phone number, and then they would come in, they would do their free session. I told them how much it would have cost before the session started. And then so that there was no sticker shock when I pitched them on the fact that it was a series at the end, but I told them it was the first session in a series right at the beginning. So again, there was I didn't have all this worked out in the beginning. Okay. Like over time, I figured this out. I wasn't super brilliant.
I'm sorry, brother, but this is old home week for me, man. Stacy Sicard, how the hell are you, girl? God, I miss you. You're awesome. I hope everything's doing just fine up in Canada, eh? And I just wanted to throw out to Michael Sullivan. I was wondering, Mike, how is your business doing? Just to give you some background, Tellman, he runs a very successful insurance company. I'm assuming is it just life insurance, Mike, or is it all different types of insurance? And I'm just wondering with this, how that's affected your business with the pandemic and all of that, because everything that Tellman was just talking about might be adaptable and directly applicable to your business. And I'm just wondering, if we can, kind of tag teaming it, can come up with some cool stuff for you to adapt from what Tellman's talking about. And Stacy, when I first got introduced to internet marketing in general, the internet, and we were, she was the media buyer for the online lotto, uwinit.com that we built.
All right. I think Stacy, your name seems really familiar. I think we've run into each other at some point along the way, right? Yeah,
probably.
Maybe.
And Stacy is just brilliant. We affectionately, I think she used to refer to herself as the media bitch.
Nice.
Because she was mean. But you have to be sometimes in that game, because back then the only real kind of paid media back in those days was banner advertising.
Right.
So it was, the wild, wild west for sure. Anyway. Cool. So you've made the jump, Mike, from offline to online, and you've been automating, and fantastic, man. That's awesome. Awesome. Stacy's said she believes so, and I believe that she's probably referring to you, Tellman, that cool. She believes that you guys have connected before.
Cool. So yeah, it's really powerful because it's So anyway, what happened was I started this one office up, and overnight I went from like having one client a day to one day a week I had 8 to 10 clients a day. Okay, yeah. So I had one client a day in my local office, and then like on Wednesdays or something I would have 10 clients, and I was like, oh, long day, right? Because at first most of them were free, and then all the people that signed up for the free sessions, 80% of them, 75, 80% became paying clients. And so you would all then, I would say, okay, and of those, 80% would pay in advance. They'd buy a package for $375. And so I got paid in advance from free clients. Wrap your head around that. Got paid in advance from free clients, and then
Nice.
I turned around and successfully then I'd walk them upstairs after the session was over, and we would fill out their next 6 appointments. So all of a sudden the calendar slots started getting filled up, and that created more urgency for all the people that were thinking about signing up for their first free session, but they were skeptical because it's hypnosis and hypnosis is weird and all that stuff. So it was great. It was an amazing system. And then what I did is I set up 5 more. So I did one in a dental office. I did one in like a weight loss supplement, kind of like a Weight Watchers, except it was a different company. And some of them work better than others. Set one up in an alternative healthcare center, and I paid the business owners 1/3 of everything that I earned inside their doors, inside their walls, right? And so integration marketing allowed me to set up advertising streams, really, that created immediate results and long-term clients without an outlay of money. Okay? And that without outlay of rent or advertising cost. Huge. Right. Absolutely huge. Like,
I don't want Michael's been saying some really cool shit that I want to capitalize on because I think it's really, really cool, because is like a local business in some respects, but the comment that you've got up on of his about the best thing about Zoom coaching, get in there in short spurts, but then his follow-up was, I'm just a coach at the end of the day, brother. And think about that for a second, because that's the kind of intimacy and relationship and the rapport that he can build. He's marketing insurance, but it just so happens that the way he's doing it is by being a coach, and he's doing it via, remotely, which means that he's not limited to local, although he may be because of whatever the legal restrictions are. But it can be done from anywhere to anywhere via this way. And really, it applies to any business, right? Because if you're just a coach, you're able to do that. And in some respects, it's kind of a similar integration approach when you start thinking about things, Tellman, with what you were talking about. It's not identical, but there's adaptations there, and that you could build on, that you could encapsulate on, and I'm sure that you could brainstorm some crossovers or some ideas on how to fill up the live streams in the same, or not live streams, but the Zoom conferences in the same kind of format as a room inside a physical location, a Zoom room.
Yeah, you can do all of this online. So all of it, when I learned about it, I didn't understand online marketing. It was an online marketing principle, and I applied it offline, right? That's one of the things, is that it's not about online or offline. You need to adapt it to whatever situation you're dealing with.
It's just good, solid. Yeah.
It's easier, frankly, online, with the way in which everything is connected now, and the way and all the options. And
I would agree with you. It's easier if you don't allow yourself to get distracted with all the voodoo, with all the bells and whistles and the latest and greatest things. And if you just use the tools that present themselves to you as you need them, and don't get distracted, don't get overwhelmed, just stay focused on, the fundamentals.
Let me give you an example of this, right? So ClickBank, right? ClickBank is a great platform. They've been around forever. They sell lots of different types of info products and physical products now too, in a wide variety of industries. They've become a little bit more regulated over the years to prevent scammers. Okay, so if you're like hardcore BizOp or like Forex and like that kind of stuff, you're probably not going to make it onto ClickBank. But ClickBank is a cool feature where they allow you to create upsells, one-click upsells. And what you can do is, if you have a really good one-click upsell, all right, you can actually go and integrate that as an upsell on the back end of somebody else's offer. So I don't know what industry our viewers are operating in. Obviously, everybody's a little different. So you, on the other side of the camera,
yes, I did
whatever,
this manually.
right? Whatever industry you're in, right? If and you don't have, even if ClickBank isn't an option for you, the idea still is, which is, imagine that you have a brand new business and you're going to create a membership program, and your membership program is, I'm going to just pick something really neutral, or organic gardening. And let's say you are a gardener, you're an organic gardener, and you teach people how to grow amazing organic vegetables at home. Okay? And you have the garden club, and it's probably taken, but whatever. And it's $29.95 a month, $29.95 a month.
Right.
And you just can't get enough people into the organic gardening club to pay all your monthly bills. You need that monthly membership program. Like, you're getting started, whether it's your first online business, whether you've been around the block for a long time. And again, this isn't about organic gardening, guys. This is about your niche, your industry, your business. Okay. And you need to make $10,000 a month from this recurring income stream with this membership program. But right now you're only making $1,500. Okay. You need more members, but for the love of God, you can't manage to get traffic. Like, you're really bad on camera. You can't get any juice with any of your Facebook lives. And, like, I don't know, it's just not working for you. Maybe you get too freaked out about paid media advertising and all the little details. Doesn't matter why. Just, you don't have enough people coming in the front door. So you go out and you look on ClickBank and you find all the different products that are out there that sell something relating to gardening. Okay, growing tomatoes, etc., growing flowers, growing cucumbers, hydroponic gardening, growing weed. Who knows? Gardening everything, right? And you'll find the vast majority of the products that you'll find on a place like ClickBank or anywhere else will not have a membership site. They will not have a recurring membership program. They just won't have it. They won't have developed their business out that far. So what you do is you take your membership site and you put it as an upsell to, you have to ask them, develop relationships with them, but say, look, I'll give you 75% of the revenue that anybody, for anybody that you send through takes, and we'll create a whole module in there promoting your products, and we'll put emails in our autoresponder sequence promoting your products. But we want to put this membership, this free 7-day trial as a first upsell after they buy your How to Grow Tomatoes ebook. And you go out and you do this with 100 people.
Yep.
Okay. So I just wanted to break it down into a really simple way. Like, imagine how many customers you would get if you went out and you did it with 100 or 1,000 product owners and put your membership site on as an upsell to create recurring income for them, recurring income for you, but you get all the long-term customers, right? Very, very, very possible. Okay.
Yep, for sure.
Michael says, you nailed it.
You read it?
So
you want me to read it, or you're letting everybody have a chance to read it?
I think everybody should just
read it.
Take it in. Just
cool.
Take a moment. Take it in. Michael says, you nailed it, dude. Personal does not mean in person, but simply connecting. Absolutely. Connecting frequently and as much as you can, given whatever opportunities you have to do that, right? Could just be picking up the phone and saying hello. All right, let's see. Wasim says, marketing is all about pushing someone to take action and buy something when marketers think it's good for him. The strategies are endless. I don't know if I agree with you, Wasim. I think it's a little edgy. That's definitely not, I mean, you can think marketing that way.
Well, I think that's old school way of thinking about it. There's 3 evolutions of marketing that have taken place. It's the attention monetization, to capture attention, interruption marketing, then moved over to mind share marketing where you're getting inside their mind. And I believe that there's another revolution taking place right now, which is heart share marketing. and it's about enrollment. And you can't push somebody to be enrolled. They have to enroll themselves in your journey. You can do things to inspire them, to educate them, to provide insights that then unfold into the journey. But at the end of the day, they have to decide. They can't be pushed into it. They have to be enrolled into moving forward. And to me, that's the third level of evolution. And frankly, that's where the entire internet is going, because everything is a volunteer army now. With all the different ways of interrupting people, of getting your message out in front of them, of targeting them, of moving into the different directions, the only way to stand out is to get a piece of their heart, to get in there so that they feel good, and the only way to get heart share is for them to give it to you. Really, I mean, that's the end of the day.
I agree fully. What popped into my mind as you were saying that, Joshua, is the simple example.
Is the simple what? I'm sorry.
The simple example of someone who plays an instrument really, really, really well, or they could sing too, right? And this is not limited to music in any way, but you get on camera, you play a song, it gives people goosebumps. They absolutely love it. They have an amazing emotional experience. They
Right.
fall in love with you as a fan, right? And at the end of the song, you say, hey, I hope you enjoyed this song as much as I enjoyed playing it for you. If you'd like to learn how to play guitar like this, just say, I love guitar in the comments below.
Yeah.
And I'll shoot you a message.
You know what's interesting about that, Tellman? I find that when the person receiving the goosebumps, like you said, like they got chills and they got connected with it, that usually the person that's performing it also feels the same kind of
Right.
like excitement and chills, but might not know why. It's that connection thing.
That's right. That's right. Basim is a question. So Basim is, or I think it's a question or a statement. I think it's a question. You mean building trust through goodwill and making business based on the relationship you build with prospects? Absolutely. Goodwill and human connection, right? With people who genuinely like your work and your stuff.
And to take it a step beyond just trust into the respect category, but in order for it to be respectful and to go the extra limit between an authority to a leader and then to an advisory type environment where you're their Oprah or you're their consigliere, where what you say goes because it's coming from you, then you've got to extend it beyond. Your influence has to shift beyond just the trust and the slight respect. It's got to happen over time. And then you can enjoy the type of success that somebody like Oprah did when she would have, she'd give a book the nod, and instantly, millions of copies later within the next week would be, sold as a result. And the only way that happens is when people feel like that connection with her didn't matter what was being sold.
Absolutely true. It's so okay. So there are a couple things here. So why, right? Why does Oprah have that type of influence? Why does Oprah have that type of power? But before we get to Oprah, think about the rise, and maybe they're still on the rise, or maybe they're going a little down lower now. But the rise of unboxing videos, the popularity of the whole unboxing of things. So. Okay. What happens? What's happened with the unboxing? Well, the unboxing videos have become very popular over the years, over the last few years on YouTube in particular. I see them on Facebook as well, where people get a box of cool stuff and they open it up. Well, just getting a box of cool stuff and opening it up isn't enough to put you into an advisory role. Okay. Right. I love hot sauce. I have thousands and thousands of bottles of hot sauce, and I buy lots of it. I love trying new hot sauce. But one of the biggest things in the hot sauce world, of course, are hot sauce review videos. And so what makes one person different from another person? What makes one person able to gain traction and have a fan base and a following, and they're trying hot sauce and eating hot sauce and people are buying hot sauce from them? versus the other person that's doing the same thing, except they're a total jackass and nobody ever buys anything from them and they're frustrated because they're not making any money. Maybe they're doing videos on a regular basis, whether it's hot sauce or you're unboxing toys or ties, or doesn't matter what your theme is,
Right.
whether you're focused on a particular market or a particular type of product, but like what is that Oprah effect, Joshua? What gives Oprah or other celebrities the ability to give the nod to a product or service and for it to blow up?
Well, I mean, it's all the typical things that we've talked about in terms of influence and building relationship, but a lot of it has to do with time in the saddle, and that over time and consistently
Right.
over time, that there is a bond, that there is a deep seated relationship that starts to take place, not from you, the guru on the hill, pushing it forward, but from the people deciding that you are their friend mentally, like
Yes.
the conversations that they end up having about you, and continue to reinforce, so that every time, and it is a gradual process you can't push it. Now, some people go through that journey faster than others because of who they are, because of what the subject matter is, whatever, but it changes, but there is the repetition. And something that Gary Halbert said that stuck with me, that I first heard him say, I think in 1993 maybe, where he said, the sale is fragile, meaning that, and I think it really applies even deeper today to exactly what we're talking about here, is that it takes a long time to build that loyalty and trust, and a second to lose it if you screw up, and if you're not consistent, if you're not following through, if you're not honoring your word, if you're not being consistent in those things. So I'm not talking about a 90-day window where you've got you've got the 90-day value of your clients and you call that lifetime. I'm talking about like beyond the 90 days. I'm talking about like loyal. You've got loyal subscribers, Tellman, that have been following your work, and I know it now firsthand, for 17 years.
Yeah.
That have love your stuff. They don't necessarily respond to everything that you put out there, nor should they. But
not everything is going to be a home run for anybody. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and different strokes for different folks. But the point is that they are loyal to you, and that they love who you are, regardless of what you're, what you're giving to them. And when you think about this, it's 100% subjective. You can't demand it. That's what I mean by enrollment, right? It happens in their mind, and they have to decide that you are the shit. But they can just as easily decide that you spoiled our friendship. You did something that screwed that up. And in general, if you're not being consistent in who you are, or you're misleading them or whatever, then that can be ruined very quickly. But if you systematically stay that course, where they build that kind of friendship, that relationship, and then mentally it unfolds, and they have this inner narrative about you, and about, every time they see you on, the live stream, where they see you, where they hear you, talk through your emails to them, they mentally start having this conversation with you in their head, and it deepens the rapport that they feel towards you.
It does. And it's changed over time, but yeah, I agree with you. Time in the saddle. I mean, there are ways of shortcutting aspects of that, but there's no replacement for it, right? And so putting in it's basically like putting in time now.
Can I just interject one thing?
Yeah.
It's having that. It's like what I think Dan Kennedy is the first person to coin it this way. I'm sure he didn't invent it, but the dual readership path, right? Where you account for the time in the saddle, people, and whatever length of time it takes, but you also make a fast track. such that if the person that's coming in wants to fast track it, they can. They don't have to be forced to run into snail's pace.
Well, speaking of fast track, if you guys are enjoying our video here today, then we'd like to offer you an opportunity to fast track what you're working on with your business. We are currently accepting 12 new applicants to work with us on really building out your platform to help achieve that Oprah effect level of influence, where you really are able to build up your own tribe, your own audience. Email will be a big part of it, mark my words. There are other pieces to the puzzle as well, but email really is at the core. So if you've been wanting to build your list, increase the responsiveness of your list, increase the connection you have with your list, create more profit from your existing list, increase your list growth, and your ability to connect short-term and long-term with perfect clients and customers, then type fast track into the comments and shoot me a private message. And what we'll do is I'll send you a link to a super cool tool that Joshua put together called a platform audit. And you'll be able to go through and ask yourself some questions about how you're thinking about your business and how your business actually works that will give you some shifts so you can start seeing some bigger possibilities that you might not be able to see right now. Totally free. You can check it out. It's super awesome. We've had a ton of people go through it. So if you're interested in what we're talking about here and you want a deeper, more meaningful, more frequent, and more profitable connection with your people, fast track in the comments below, and we'll get you up to speed ASAP.
Yeah, and like Tellman said about reaching out private messages, especially if you happen to be watching the recorded version of this, we don't always get notified of new comments on those videos. So by all means, please reach out and private message one of us, and we'll get you the information.
That's right. Awesome, everybody. It was great seeing you. Joshua, good seeing you again. And
likewise.
And we'll talk to you all soon.
See ya.
Bye.